And now the music. We can't even start this without the music, right? Now, and look, I've got the. Look, I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit late because my coffee wasn't ready. I can't do this without my coffee, right? Here's the irony. It's decaf. What? Bob, who are you? I don't even know you anymore, is what you're saying to yourself. If you don't know who I am, hi, I'm Bob, and every now and again I turn on all these cameras. Okay, there's just one. And microphones and whatnot, and I sit in this plush studio by the beach. And I address your LOAQA, that's Law of Attraction, questions and answers. Who am I to do such a thing? He said as he reached towards the floor for his credentials. Well, if you've ever heard of The Secret, well, I was in that. That's the book, and this is the movie, you see. In both of them, I also wrote these two little books about the law of attraction, Wealth Beyond Reason, and Follow Your Passion, Find Your Power. So, I've had a thing or two to say about the law of attraction over the years, and I just keep saying it. I just do. It's one of those things I keep doing. So here's what we have to do. If you're new here, well, welcome. That's just freaking awesome. I love it when you're new. Chances are not good that you're new, but hey. But here's what I need to do. I need to go join this so that I can see your comments. You see, because that's the Q part of the Q&A is your comments. That's how you ask me the question. You just type it into the comments. Right now I'm waiting for my my iPad to load the Bob Doyle Show page so that I can see this video and join you. I see you in there. I see that people have comment. Here we go. So that I can see that. Monica is here. Well, I hope you have a question. That's what's fun about all this, is we answer questions and such. And see the questions magically float up above me in this hollow comment thing. It's a special effect. You haven't really walked into the Minority Report. Hi, Kathy. And Jory is here, and Sharon. Yeah, so decaf. Yeah. We're out. We let it happen. Anyway, I'm hoping Lynn is out on an appointment today, and I'm hoping that she surprises me by coming home with something with some caffeine in it. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? Here it is, 11:13 in the morning here in Marina Del Rey, California, which is where I'm sitting. Hi, Pink Jackie. That's fun to say. And Charmaine, we've got some new people, I think. So thank you for being here. So here's how this works. You ask law of attraction related questions, and I answer them for you. Plain and simple, free of charge. It's awesome, right? So while I'm waiting for you to answer or to ask your questions, I will just touch briefly on what I talked about a good bit the other day, which is, of course, our group coaching program, which is a 90-day thing that's starting, I'm hoping tomorrow. I'm hoping that tomorrow we will launch. Honestly, it's really just about getting the web page ready. I think I told you that the other day. I'm ready to go. I'm ready. But, we have to do the whole web page thing so that I can point you there and then you can read about it even after I've told you about it. You already know you want to do it. Why do you need to read about it again? I don't know. So we're doing that, and then you can enroll. And I'm very excited. We'll probably start mid-September, late September. If you want more information or if you want to be notified about it, you can type group info into the comments below, and then magic will happen. You'll see. Okay. No questions yet, so that's okay. I'm prepared. I'm prepared for when people don't ask questions, because guess what? I've got years of questions that have been asked to me over the course of time, and I'll bet you, they're the questions you have too, probably. Here's one. Here's a common one. How do I keep from, it's something along the lines of this. I'm learning about the law of attraction. How do I prevent negative thoughts? How do I prevent negative thoughts? Right? Does anybody ever had that question before? Does anybody ever had that question before? This is why I'm not an English teacher. Well, here's the thing, guys. You're not supposed to not ever have negative feelings. Negative feelings are there for a reason. We have our whole range of emotions, from feeling pretty crappy to feeling really awesome and off the charts and everything in between. And every single one of those is important, and it has a message for us. And when we get into negative feelings, what we're supposed to do with that is say, hey, look, it's this situation or whatever that is causing this reaction in me. Now I'm going to change it. And what we tend to do is fixate on the fact that we're having a negative thought. And especially if we're learning about the law of attraction, we go, oh no, I can't have these negative thoughts, help. Right? Okay, good. See, I nailed the first question for all of you. Hi, Jill. And Beth, it's good. Beth, I was just thinking about you. You know why I was thinking about you? I was thinking this morning, I have no idea how to pronounce your last name. That's a true story. I was thinking that. Beth was in one of our previous group coaching programs. That's how we know one another. But see, the negative emotion in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's a part of us, of our humanity. Right? How would we know what's great if we don't know what's not so great, right? So we have that negative emotion to give us a message to say, hey, change the course, think a different thought, put your attention in a different way, take a different form of action. But what we've learned to do is, oh my God, I've got a problem, let's fixate on it. I've got a negative thought, let's fixate on it. And either try and attack and kill it, or pretend it's not there. Neither one of those things is going to be effective. When you have a negative thought, the best thing you can possibly do is to get its message and then take action. So that you can then change that negative thought into a more positive feeling. And it's really the feelings that we're talking about, because the negative thought basically creates the negative feeling. And that's really all we're concerned about, is how are you feeling? We can have thoughts all day long that don't affect us vibrationally, to any real extent. It's our emotions that are affecting our vibration. So our negative thoughts then normally trigger a negative emotion. They don't actually have to. That's just how we're wired. So you could have a negative thought. I don't know. I owe more money than I have, okay, what you perceive as a negative thought. And you can choose in that moment to get hooked into the emotion of it and paint a picture of doom and gloom or whatever, or you can just observe it as a fact. And it doesn't actually have to be negative, and it doesn't actually have to affect, your overall vibration and your body chemistry and everything that makes you feel bad. So again, one of the major issues with people having and being plagued by negative thoughts is they don't have anything better to replace it with. Think about that for a minute. Monica has left a question. I've been working the LLs, as you know, and trying to identify coincidences or messages from the universe that guide my goal and vision. But how do I know when they're real messages and not just part of my imagination? So I put my pen down over there because I do want to come back to that question because it's a very common question too. So hopefully somebody will keep me on task. Let me just wrap up the negative thinking thing, and then I'll go to this, because this is a very common question as well, related to your intuition and how to know what's your intuition and what's just the noise in your head, right? So anyway, the negative feelings. So it's only when they turn into emotions that any of this is an issue. Same with positive. Like why you can have a vision board with all these incredible things on it and still, not necessarily feel good looking at it, in which case the vision board isn't doing its job. So my point being is that when you have a thought that is negative, if you don't have something better to replace it with, you tend to fixate on that, thinking that, well, if I just eliminate this negative thought, I'll feel better. When actually you can feel better at any time by putting your thoughts and attention in a different place, which is ideally your vision. Because look, I teach the whole reason I teach this is because I work under this notion isn't the word, fact, statement, that we're here to create lives that we love, and that we have everything built within us to do just that. We have our imagination, we have our power of, we have our intuition, we have vision, we have emotions, we have everything we need to work with the energy that is the universe to create an experience of reality that is 100% in alignment with what we truly want. However, we have not learned that properly, and so our thoughts are fragmented all over the place. We've got all sorts of weird ideas about what's possible and what's not possible. I mean, we can still look at the miracle that is the universe and the planets and the ecosystems and everything. Miraculous, and still we'll buy into ideas of limitation. We'll still buy into it. Oh, well, yes, all that other stuff is extraordinary and impossibly great, but when it comes to humans, we're the broken piece. We're the ones with the limitations. Do you understand how much that doesn't make sense? when we've been given what we've been given, I can hear the yeah but Bobs from here. I can hear them. The confusion around all this comes from a basic lack of understanding of what the law of attraction really is, which any of you who have studied with me know that that's the first order of business that we take care of in the group coaching or anything I do is like, look, I know you may have this idea of what the law of attraction is all about. Let me tell you what science says it's about. And let's work with that because it's no less miraculous. It's just not as, magical as a lot of people go into it thinking that it is. And then if it doesn't work right away, oh, my magic wand's broken. This isn't for me. The universe doesn't want me to have this. This is all nonsense. That whole thing. And it's all because they're not working with the right information. So it's always been my passion to get the right information about what the law of attraction is so that people can have results with it, or at least understand what needs to shift and change in their approach to it so that they can then see the results that they want. But if you don't have a full understanding of what it is, or an understanding that is just simply just not right, then of course you're going to have mixed results, if any results at all. And then when that happens, it's easy just to give up on the whole thing and just say, oh, this is a bunch of nonsense, which is, of course, great news to your ego because your ego doesn't want anything to change. It doesn't want you to step out of a comfort zone. It doesn't matter how miserable your life is or how much you're settling. Your ego tells you it's just great, it's just fine, you don't need any more than this. And in fact, if you start thinking about more than this, I'm going to make you really, really, really uncomfortable. Hi, Belinda. Anybody relate to that? Hi, Kathy. Let me address Monica's question because, one of the things that we teach in group coaching or any of my programs or whatever is that when you're clear on your vision, and you're really doing whatever you have to do to get yourself into the feeling space of having it now, then the universe is going to immediately respond in some way. It doesn't mean that the thing is going to, appear out of thin air. Although sometimes, I think we've all probably had little experiences of something almost that magical happening. But it's not always the way. But it is responding always to your vibration, to what you're putting out there, to what you're telling the universe, this is what is. It's always responding immediately. And so when you move into alignment, energetic alignment with or move into a certain vibration, the universe is matching that immediately. Now, how that shows up to you can take what we're calling time. And it can also require you to take action, and it almost always will. And the action, it can be in a variety of forms. But the question is, well, how do I know what action to take? And that's where your intuition comes in. And when I say your intuition, it almost always sounds like your intuition. So, your intuition. So when your intuition kicks in, and that's what's telling you the next step to take. But what Monica is asking is like, okay, well, I'm in my vision, but I'm getting all these messages. And I don't know which ones of these are my imagination and which ones of these are my intuition and telling me exactly what to do. So, and I get that because that was my whole thing too. I had no idea when I started this journey. Does anybody else relate to that? Oh, look at that. I said, can anyone relate? And I look and I see Beth Wright. I can so relate. Did you know I was psychic too? No more than anybody else. So you're getting all these messages. So what I did when I first started this was, when I created my vision of the career I wanted and, getting these principles out as effectively as possible. When I had my vision, I knew that I had intellectually failed at figuring out what to do to fix my life. This was back in 2002, right before all this hit. I knew intellectually I didn't have the answers, and no matter how hard I thought about it, I wasn't gonna give myself the idea that was gonna actually bring in abundance and change my life in this way. But I had learned enough to know that allegedly this intuition thing would tell me what to do. So what I did was I did what I knew you were supposed to do, which was to get into the feeling space of your vision so that the universe basically then moves into motion to match that vibration. And then look for things. But this time what I decided to do was look for something that was very unusual, not my normal line of thinking. Like I always knew how my brain worked. If I was trying to quote unquote solve a problem, I was very familiar with the types of ideas I would have, or what I would call solutions, or like that. So I decided, well, I'm opening myself up to listen from a different source, one that's way smarter than me and outside of this space right here. The source that created this entire universe in the first place. All of that information we have access to. We're connected to it, but we have to allow it in, and not keep telling the universe, "I got this, I got this, I got this," when you clearly don't. So what I did was I just looked for what's going to show up in my life that is unusual, what's different, what is not the same kind of idea and thought that I've had a zillion times. And I still, even then, I wasn't 100% sure, right, that, oh, well, this is obviously my intuition. But at least what I said was, I'm going to play with it. If something unusual comes up, something out of the ordinary of the way that my brain usually works, I'm going to follow it. Because why not? Because the thing is that the path from A to B, where we are to wherever you want to be, we humans, we want a plan that makes sense to us. We need to see how logically this is going to lead to that, to that, to that, to that, to that. Right? Right? Am I right? Right? Am I right? I'm right. But we we have our perception of what reality is. Very limited. Hardly anybody's thinking on quantum levels and all of this other stuff, even though we're part of it. We could, but we're just not. So we think very very earthly, like these things have to happen that are logical. But that the universe doesn't work that way. So in my case, what was ultimately my delivery from that way and learning, what was ultimately my breakthrough was delivered to me by following a path that never would have made sense to me as, oh yeah, I see how that'll get me there. It didn't have anything to do with what I was saying that I wanted to do. However, by following that path, I was led to meeting the right people and finding the right resources that then eventually did turn on the lights for me in terms of the law of attraction, what piece was missing, all the pieces that were missing, and why it wasn't working for me, the whole thing. And then the Wealth Beyond Reason program was born, the books were written, The Secret happened. But that would never have happened for me if I had said, intuition, what you're telling me right now makes zero sense. I don't see how. If I had done that, I would not be sitting here talking to you today. Hi, Bereet. And Sarah's here too. Hi, Natty. We are dangerously close to getting lukewarm with the decaf. I saved it a little bit by putting heavy cream and sugar in there. So it's, a little decadent. But it's one of life's simple pleasures. If you got to drink decaf, you may as well make it as pleasant as possible. Am I right? Okay. So with the intuition thing, that's one way, is just to look for things that are sort of unusual. And then you just follow it. You got to test it. That's the only way you'll really know. So you'll start to get a feel for, oh, that's that. I had a similar feeling when I followed that, and it led me to the right place and all of that. It's going to be. I think it's going to feel and show up differently for everybody a little bit. I mean, intuition can be something as like a voice you get in your head of an idea to take, or the way that because I define intuition as basically your communication from the universe. The universe can communicate not just with thoughts in your head, but also a manifestation of a chance meeting. A book that comes your way, something that's in the physical. It still can be communication from the universe, and it's still there because you're moving into alignment with something else, and the universe is saying, okay, well, here's what's going to happen to facilitate that. So it might be an idea or an aha moment, something intangible like that, or it might be a very physical, seems real, but that's actually still the universe delivering. Is this making sense to anybody besides me and anyone who's taken my coaching? Because you should know that by now. Does it have to do with feeling, so it feels good, like you're on the right track? Well, you know what? So I'd love to say that that's true, like you just know that it feels great. But here's what I've kind of learned about intuition, is when it's intuition, you normally don't get this big, scary, heavy no feeling. Now, you might feel a little fearful because you're going to be probably moving out of your comfort zone. Like I did. The conversations that I started were kind of outside of my comfort zone. They were about angels and things like that. Not my normal conversation. I was like, oh, why am I talking about this? Right? But it led me here we are. So yes, I think, and the feeling piece of it is what you're going to learn. with experience as you try it. You're going to learn what feeling feels like. And I think also that, generally speaking, your ego or the resistance is going to feel constrictive. No, you can't do that, and here's a million reasons why. Right? As opposed to like, no, this is not the choice. And it's just a different kind of communication. Like the intuition, if it's a no, the intuition's version of no will feel a lot less like this than your ego. Is that making sense? Hi, Paul. Universe told her to quit her job. And great decision. And I believe you've got something else going already, if I saw that right. I know, Beth. What can I tell you? I ran out of calf. I don't know how it happened. Laziness, inattentiveness. I don't know. Blech. Okay, well, I'm done with that now. I mean, there's a little bit left, but All right, so does answer your question? Okay, think it makes sense. Well, that's good. At least you think it makes sense. It's just one of those things you got to try on a little bit and just see how intuition occurs for you. Now, come on, who else has law of attraction questions? By the way, again, if you're new to this or whatever, we have lots of these recorded law of attraction Q&As right here on the Bob Doyle Show page. Many of them are in a playlist that are easy to find. I need to add some of the more recent ones in there. So if you're a law of attraction fan, there is no shortage of law of attraction information on this page, even though we do get silly around here sometimes with the Bob Doyle Show and whatnot. Am I right? That's what we do. It's supposed to be fun. And even in our group coaching program, we have fun. Don't we have fun, Beth and Monica? It can get kind of intense too, because here's the thing about I'm going to talk about it again for just a second, because I am excited. We are launching this tomorrow, but the group coaching is way different than any group coaching program I was ever a part of, as an attendee. But I've always led these group coaching programs very down to business, living the principles stuff. And so instead of it just being about a bunch of like, here's some advice and here's some other information, everybody's being pushed through actually doing this stuff and walking through it. And as a result, resistance comes up and all kinds of crap comes up. But that's why that's the beauty of the group environment, where we all have, 24/7 support from each other. And this time around, it's going to be 90 days. So, it's just a much different experience when you're in that environment and you're actually living the stuff. Because when you're doing this on your own, you take a course or whatever, if you get stopped, if the resistance comes up or your family starts making fun of you or whatever it is, well, chances are you're going to bail if you're a beginner to all of this, because you're going to be like, oh, this is too hard, this isn't worth it, they don't get it, and then you doubt yourself and all of those things. I see it all the time. But but when you're a part of a group, and even with one-on-one coaching, which I used to do, it's still just me and you that way, and then you've still got to rely on your support system. And a lot of people just plain don't have a support system. Even if they're married to them or living, their family, when it comes down to following your dream, if you don't have those people in your life to say, yeah, keep going, even when it gets tough, then you quit. Your ego and your ego justifies it completely. It doesn't seem like you're quitting or giving up necessarily, unless that's how the ego likes to manipulate you. You're a quitter. You're going to quit this. Yeah, I'm a quitter. Whatever. All that nonsense that goes on in your head. And by the way, if that's you, that's one of the things, if that voice is so loud, that's the reason to get into a group like this. Because when that happens, you get into the group and you say, guys, this is happening. I was this close, and all of a sudden this started happening. Help. And then boom, wave of support from everybody, including myself, in video form or in comments form or whatever, to move you through it. Because that's why people don't have the results with the law of attraction, is they refuse to move through it when it gets really tough, or it gets really tough and they get stuck on the fact that it's tough. And they go, oh, I'm working on this piece of resistance. I'm so close. And then, but what they don't see is that this is the trick that the ego has played. The ego will tell you, you're working on this. You're working on this. Oh, but this thing right here, you can't get past this. This is the tough one. But don't worry, feel good about yourself. You're working on it, right? Does that, anybody watching this, replay or otherwise, does this sound familiar? I talked about it the other day. When you take on being something that you're not right now, a better version of yourself or something that is more inspiring to you, that's death to your current ego, and it will fight for its life. You know? And that's why this sounds ridiculously manipulative, and I'm sorry. So I'm going to say it right up front. But there are some people who are listening to this who know they want to do something like this. They know this is what it is, but their ego will tell them a million reasons why they can't, because it's threatened. And I know that sounds like a marketer cop-out, but if you just stop that noise for a second and think about it, the reality of it is your ego will always want to keep you there. And the more threatened it feels from something on the outside that's going to take away its sense of identity, no matter how limiting it is or any of that, no matter how miserable it makes you, it's going to fight for it. And it's going to tell you all the reasons. You don't have the money. You don't have the time. Who is this guy? Da-da-da-da. This is all nonsense. Everybody says this. Don't believe a word of it. Meanwhile, other people join work, change their lives, and go through all the, the discomfort and all of that stuff. It's going to happen. That's the beauty of it. This time you get to be in a comfortable, safe environment as you go through the discomfort. B says ego is the driver for all the wrong choices. Yeah. I mean, and she also said it's evil, and I don't want to think about it like that either, because then you get into this really, because it is a part of yourself, and you don't want to be thinking about a part of yourself as evil, but your ego is, the idea of it is, it's your identity, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that until the ego decides that the identity that it wants is limiting. And it just learned that. See, the ego is just going with the information that it learned from outside sources. It's not evil in its intent. The ego is just saying, oh, I learned this from my parents, I learned this from that, you can't have this, you can't do that, you're too short for this, you'll never do this, blah, 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 blah. So your ego says, okay, this is my identity, this is who you are. So when that forms, any threat to that, whether it's worse or better, it becomes survival mode for the ego. And it will tell you every reason why you can't do something that is going to move you out of that. It works the other way too. A lot of people will only get so low either. Their ego also won't let them crash to the very, very bottom. It'll just let them hover up here and say, yeah, I'm suffering. I'm suffering. I'm really trying hard. It won't let you go down that way, but it sure won't let you go all the way up either, because that's way uncomfortable. So how do you get past that? You have to create a vision that is so exciting that even your ego can see that it's awesome. Right? And you're not going to do that just one time, throwing up a vision board or thinking about something one time and go, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we had this house and this amount of freedom? Because the first thing your ego is going to do is go, that's not who you are, and of course you can't have that. Why are you even thinking that way? And when that happens, the first few times, a lot of people just give up. And they think, well, I guess it's just not me. And then the ego goes, whew, thank God I dodged that bullet. Literally. Hi, Emma Seam. And here I am. Hi, Shelley. So it's really not about trying to kill the ego or calling the ego evil, even though it is the number one thing stopping you from what you're doing. It's about creating a relationship, a different relationship. Somewhere in this, I have this whole thing about a conversation with your ego. I think, unless I took it out of this edition. But it's a whole conversation about, oh, there it is. It's on page 125. Make friends with your ego rather than try to destroy it. And this was in 2004. But regardless of how you feel about it, being aware of it is key. Being aware of how it makes your decisions and limits you from doing things that you know are going to help you, or could, or are the better choice at least. I mean, doing something towards your dreams is better than doing nothing every single time. Taking some kind of action. So, I don't like to be one of those people who says, so if you're watching this, then obviously you're meant to do this program, because I don't know that. I have no idea. And it's not for every single person either. I totally get that. But here's what I do know, there's no magic on this. You got an interest in the law of attraction, or me, enough to be here And so I assume that you're on the journey, and you could be a total beginner. You could be years into it. You could be, a freaking expert. I don't know. And so you're just having the conversation here with me. In some cases, you may be saying, yeah, that's true what he's saying about group coaching. I did coaching and it helped me. And then there's some of you who are going, I'd like to do that group coaching, but he's not told me how much it costs, and I don't know anything, and all that stuff. That'll all be revealed tomorrow, I'm hoping. But the point is, the question is, could I use this kind of assistance, right? Anyway, I really didn't mean to this time go off, but I just get so passionate. But if you want information about it, you can type group info into the comments, and I think that will work. It's supposed to. It did yesterday, eventually. I'm just trying new stuff. All right, look. I need now to, well, awesome. B, it's speaking to your life. Good. We have to, so B says she's in a group that uses the law of attraction. We have to work hard managing our fears. Yeah, the fears, that's all, that's where the ego lives. It all lives, the fear lives in that ego. Because almost everything that you're afraid of makes the ego uncomfortable, and that's what it does not what it wants. So it will amplify the fear. Learning to become an observer of your reactions and your emotions and things like that, and when your ego comes into play, is a huge part of what we do in the coaching. Am I right, Beth? I'm not just making this up. It's a huge part of it, becoming the observer. It gives you so much power in the moment. Because when you have an upset, and you're taken over with it, most of us are trained to go with it and just get into it. Ugh, I'm upset, and get attached to it and really experience the upset, which sometimes is appropriate and sometimes it's not, but always a choice. But mostly it's an unconscious choice, and we don't feel like it's a choice. But there are, in any moment, when no matter what the upset is, it is possible to just momentarily disengage emotionally from it and look at it. This is part of the gift that we have, guys. It's part of the gift that we don't have to get. Those emotions, those negative things, they're a signal. They don't have to be a poison that takes you over. So they're a signal. So you get the signal and you say, okay, I'm going to disengage. So I'm not going to get sucked into that. What is really happening here? Because if you allow yourself to go down the negative stuff, if you get sucked in that way, all of your choices will be fear-based. And you'll be in this total vibration of things are bad, oh my God, panic mode, right? As opposed to, it's just a decision to look at it from a different way. And from this space, you have access to far more creativity. And everything's not, wrapped up in the upset. But it's just because you haven't learned that you can do that. Well, I want to teach you that because it's a very important skill. And it's something that we're built in with. It's a feature that many of us are not using. And there are countless features like that. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks, DJ. B says, we're doing a money story, and I find it so hard to imagine a millionaire mindset. One thing I cannot do is change my money story. Okay. So it's crazy that you said that. Oh, and I opened right to it. Okay, so B, what we just had here was a ridiculously divine moment. Okay. So, and I'm not even trying to sell this book, guys. I'm really not. I had it here to say, hey, look, I wrote this book. But now but on page 88, section 3 points, I read from Wealth Beyond Reason. Page 88, chapter 3 and 6. Who wants to be a millionaire? I'm not going to read this all. But this tells the story of when I was dealing with that exact same thing. Before all this hit, like how do I even become a million? What is that even millionaire mindset? I haven't had that, so how do I know, right? So I'm standing at the dishes. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can just find that thing because I talk about this. I was talking about being at in the kitchen. Oh, I don't know. I'd have to find it. But the point is, instead of trying to think of $1 million and how that would all occur, what is the result of $1 million for you? Like what is the feeling that $1 million will give you? Okay? What is that feeling? Well, When and it's, it was, in my case, it was like just freedom, not having to worry about any obligation. Like, it was just a whole weight came off my shoulders. But it had nothing to do with how am I going to get $1 million or having $1 million. It was just, what is the feeling of that? Why do I want this $1 million? Ask all of your group this. What is the feeling they hope to achieve? So stop thinking about mindset and all that. Just the feeling, because that's what's important anyway. Going after $1 million is not, most of the time, not even appropriate. Because it's not the getting of $1 million that you want. It's what you think that the having the $1 million, the feeling that it's going to afford you, whether you're going to give it to charity or build a business with it or just make your own life better. There's a feeling associated with it. And for me at that time, it was about being out of debt to anyone. And so I was just sitting there washing dishes or whatever, thinking about a millionaire to me would mean, and it doesn't have anything to do with the dollar amount. And then 2 years later, 3 years later, 7 figures in the business. Let's see. Approach your situations thereafter with confidence. I'm reading in the wrong order. Anyway, is this speaking to anyone? I hope so. Otherwise, this mic isn't on. These are all the key concepts. See, you hardly ever hear me coming on here giving you the 1, 2, 3s of the law of attraction, because everybody does that, and most of the time it's incomplete and not accurate anyway. It's we've tried to process, make processes and programs and step-by-steps out of all this so that we as humans can get it, but then we get attached to all of that. This is our natural state. We should not have to be doing these programs. We should not have to be learning how to create our reality because we were born with the ability. The only reason we haven't been doing it is because somebody somewhere told us you can't do that, or I'm not comfortable with you doing that, or whatever. But if you look at us, the miracle that we are, oh my God, we don't think about it enough. The miracle that we are. And the system, this universe that we are a part of. Just, watch a few documentaries and be in awe for a second. Look at what's going on at the bottom of the ocean. And then tell me you can't create a business. Give me a break. We can all do whatever. Did you hear that? The energy was so strong, a door slammed. I'm the only one here, I promise. Lynn isn't here mad at what I just said and starts slamming doors. No. Although sometimes I think we have a poltergeist in here. Sometimes Cody's our dog, for those of you who don't know, will just stop and stare at the same place. Like entry into our hall. And then, I'm not kidding you, door slam stuff. Now look, we have open windows. It's a cross breeze. Or is it? I don't know. It's just fun to think about, right? As long as nobody gets hurt. Let's see some chairs stack up or something. Woo, that'd be a nice, fun live broadcast. Okay. So Juan, I see that you wrote info, please. If you're talking about the group coaching info, you have to type actually group coaching. Type group info into the comments, and then that should work. In theory. If anybody's done it, it's worked for you, let me know. Last time when I was live, it didn't work. I had to fix it after the fact. Embarrassing, but it should be working now. Anyway. Yep, dogs see the spirits. They could. We've gotten a little off topic, I think. But now I don't even remember how we got there. How do we get to, well, the door slammed. I said something with a lot of energy and a door slammed, and now I'm completely off track. But anyway. Group info. All right, so DJ, you tell me if it worked. Sarah, you tell me if it worked. Did you get a message? It worked. Okay, yay. I love technology when it works. Da 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 da. Isn't that fun? All right. Does anyone have any further questions? It's really interesting how few questions get asked when I do this. Now, I know when I go live over at the Law of Attraction page where there's 5.5 million potential people, and I have 1,000 live viewers. Can you all even imagine such a thing? Well, some of you can, because that's how you met me, was doing those over there. Right, Sarah? I'm guessing. And Beth. I think Beth and I knew we were connected already. I think. I could be wrong. Anyway. Look, you can always ask questions here in the comments and all of that, but if you'd like to work together for 90 days and feel like you're worth the investment, it's really not that much, I promise. But all that tomorrow. So if you're interested in learning about that and you type group info, then hopefully through the magic of this technology, I will be able to send you a message tomorrow that says, hey, here's where to go to find out more about it. Now, again, like I said, the whole delay on launching this thing is because of the web page itself. And I have to tell you, I am so honestly, I'm just going to be straight up with you. Okay? Because I did years of internet marketing and web pages and the wording and the copy and the everything to make, to have someone make a decision to purchase and all of that psychology. And man, oh man, after a few years of that, it was just exhausting. It's like, why can't I just tell people how great it is and they just get it? Anyway, so I've kind of just adopted that, philosophy recently. And try not to suffer over web pages so much, because this is how I talk to people anyway. Ideally I talk to you and say, hey, it's open, go here. You don't even need a page, just an enrollment button should be all you need. But anyway, I guess I still got to play that web page game, because here's what happens. Your ego is going to say, okay, I'll go over there. But if they just saw a buy button, the ego would be like, well, I'm certainly not doing this. There's nothing even here about it. And then it's about assessing. What does he say here? Forget what I just heard him say. Forget about how fired up I was and how much I know this is a thing. Now I'm going to be swayed by, does this webpage, is it pretty enough? Does the testimonial speak to me? Is it worded right? What's the font? All that. Ugh. And so the ego goes, the webpage isn't good enough. You don't want this. And that's really how things happen. It could be the best product in the world, and some people will look at it if their ego is uncomfortable with having that result and go, well, I don't know, that's blue on gray. What is this, the Civil War? It's silliness. But it's just how our ego works. I mean, and I do it too. There's no question. Same, guilty. I want a webpage to look nice. I don't know why I'm going off on this webpage so much. I think it's just because to me it's like, yeah, okay, fine, read it. Now just get in here, because there's no way to, on a web page, tell you what your experience is going to be. I can share what other people's experiences were, what my experience is, what my intentions are, the feelings. I can share stories all day long about the profound this, that, the other, but a lot of the things are private and personal, and I can't share those particulars with you. So there's trust. You just have to trust. Ooh. Yeah, I know. Sorry. But I wouldn't steer you wrong. Because you know why? Because if I did, well, Beth and Monica and Sarah, these people who were on my group coaching program, they wouldn't be here today watching this. They'd be going, run for your life, right? But they're not. They're here. It just feels cozy. If you like cozy, group coaching, we get cozy. Do we not get cozy? Okay. All right, here we go. I have a question. I have a clue. And then I'll wrap it up. Well, actually, there's two good questions on the table. So B's was actually first, although I kind of addressed it. How do I connect in with the law of attraction when going through a negative struggle or having a bad day? Sometimes you're going to have bad days. Everything's a wave. Energy's a wave. There's ups and downs. And so rather than beating yourself up for having a bad day, sometimes the energy just isn't, you're going to have those feelings. And so rather than fighting it, you just kind of allow it. You can do things like EFT or other sort of release techniques to kind of deal with the negative feelings and see if you can kind of move through them a little bit. Maybe it's an opportunity to work on some various areas, find the gratitude in it, but certainly don't beat yourself up for it. You're not disconnected from the law of attraction because you're having a bad day. The worst thing you can do is obsess on the fact that you're having a bad day and beating yourself up over it. The ego freaking loves that. So just ride the wave. Just ride the wave, and the next, it'll go back up. But the longer you focus on the downside of the wave, the longer it's going to last. Juan says, I have to close a deal with my brother in the next 60 days. How can I get the best and increase the vibe and do it? So Ideally, the situation is if this deal, I don't know if this is a deal you're making alongside your brother with somebody else, or if he's the one you're actually making the deal with, but in a perfect situation, you both have a vision of how this is all going to play out. What is the benefit of this deal? When this deal closes, how does everybody win? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Right? To have a really clear vision of that, because that will guide various aspects on a subconscious level, your conversation, how you show up, your energy when you're in this whole deal-making process. You know, when you're in a space of, how does this benefit everyone? Not just me or whatever. How does this benefit everyone? Then that's the best possible energy you could bring in there, and have a vision for it so you can see how, wow, if this worked, this is what's going to occur, rather than just focusing on, I must get this deal. Now, I don't know that you're doing that. I'm just saying hypothetically, that's what some people do. They think, I got to get this deal, and then I'll figure out the rest. But I'm sure you have some idea of how things are going to be better as a result of this deal, however it's configured. But I would really, really focus on the feelings of all of that. That from a law of attraction point of view, that's the best thing you can do, because doing that, if there is anything else for you to do before this meeting, well, it's through your intuition that you'll get what to do, right? So the sooner you can move into that feeling of successful deal, right, the sooner the universe will tell you what to do next between now and then. And it may be nothing. Just show up with a great vision for all concerned and see what happens. Okay. Let's see if there was any other question other than that. Oh, Sarah, thanks. And Steve is here. Steve, also a former group coaching member. Okay. I am now going to end this broadcast because I feel basically complete. And I think we've been going for about 46 minutes and 45 seconds, for those of you keeping score. You all asked good questions. You let me go off on various topics, and so I had a good time with that. Something weird is happening with my broadcast right now, so it seems a perfect time to end it. How to stay motivated. I will end with this, because Yamandeep has asked. It's got to be your vision. Your vision is what motivates you. Okay, your vision is what motivates you. That's how. You must stay tuned into the feeling of why this vision, why must I do this? And when you can tap into that feeling of the vision already being accomplished, as when you're talking about it, imagine yourself talking about it. That's a good tool. So imagine that, so your vision is fulfilled, you want to stay motivated, conduct the interview from Success Magazine or whatever that someone is doing with you, saying, how did you do it? Tell us your story. Tell us about before, and now tell us after. Right? So you get to experience and live in that again, like you're telling it to somebody as if it has already happened, and see if that doesn't motivate you. Okay. I'm now going to end this for real. Thank you all for being here and hanging out with me. I love it so much, as you know. I would love to see you guys in the group coaching. I will make that announcement tomorrow and tell everybody how to enroll. And then I'll probably talk nonstop about it and amongst the things I do, until we get started, probably sometime mid to late September. So we've got some time, but the earlier you get in, as Sarah and anybody will tell you, the earlier it starts, because the moment you're in that group, there's work to do, even before we actually start. So if you want extra time, get in as soon as possible, because it won't just be sitting around doing nothing. You'll have a head start. Doesn't seem fair, does it? Well, fast actors, you know what I'm saying? Early bird, worm, that whole thing.